I got to see the Flash movie today. In this video I am going to analyze every important scene in the movie and try to predict the future of the DC Universe. Before that, I would like to give a very brief and short spoiler-free review of the movie. Okay, so let's begin. I had a really wonderful time watching The Flash. It was very fun but also had some very strong emotional moments which made me shed a few tears. I would not call it a masterpiece, but I can definitely say this is the most fun I had watching a DC movie. Make no mistake, I always prefer dark, gritty and philosophical DC movies like The Batman, Dark Knight or Batman v Superman. But this movie was something else. It was more like a love letter to all true DC fans. From here, I am going to go into spoiler territory. If anyone has not seen the movie, I suggest you to go watch it first and then come back to this video. So without any further delay, let us begin. So the movie starts off with an incredible action sequence featuring Ben Affleck's Batman. This scene takes place in Gotham City, where Batman is in pursuit of some robbers. We also see Alfred sitting on the Bat computer and assisting Batman. Then we see a hospital which is on fire and about to implode due to fire caught in underground piping network during the robbery carried out by the same robbers who Batman is in pursuit of. Batman calls the Flash because he cannot stop the criminals and save the building both at the same time. So Barry Allen comes to the rescue from Central City. We see an incredible scene where Barry Allen saves several babies falling out of the hospital window. Batman, on the other hand, successfully catches the robbers. However, another member of the Justice League comes to his rescue before things turn ugly. This member is none other than the Amazonian Princess Diana, our very own Wonder Woman. This whole sequence was beautiful. It was very fun, it almost looked like a scene from an MCU Avenger movie. I mean this in a good way and not as an insult like Justice League 2017. Some of my Zack Snyder fan viewers might hate me for saying this, but DC Comics and its characters were never meant to be as dark as Zack Snyder made them out to be. DC Comics contain all kinds of characters ranging from extremely dark and broody ones to absolutely goofy and comedic ones like Peacemaker, Blue Beetle and Shazam. I could never visualize a character like Shazam or Peacemaker existing in Zack Snyder's DCEU. But the Gotham City and the overall look of the world that we saw in that first sequence of the Flash movie could incorporate every one of those characters. It makes me really sad watching this scene now, as we are all aware of the fact that this may be the final time we are watching these characters on the big screen. I really wish we got a Justice League movie set in this universe. I think this really was a huge missed opportunity after all. Before going further, I just want to make a small request. Talking about comic book movies, games and TV shows is my biggest passion. If you want me to continue doing this on a regular basis, I just want you to do me a small favor. Like this video and subscribe to my channel. It means the world to me. Okay, now, moving on, we see Barry Allen interacting with his father who is in prison after being wrongfully convicted for the murder of this mother. We also see Iris West in this movie, and the movie explores more of her chemistry with Barry. Iris West and Barry Allen know each other since their days at school. Barry Allen always had a crush on her. Just like the previous scene, I think this was done remarkably well. The whole atmosphere this movie creates is very much in tone with the character of Flash from the comics. While I strongly condemn his criminal actions in real life, I must admit that his performance in this movie brought Barry Allen to life. This is how he is supposed to be: fun, curious, nerdy and of course with a strong will to protect humanity and the world. Then, the story progresses with Bruce Wayne sending him a pen drive which contained a CCTV footage of a grocery store. It showed his father Henry Allen picking up some stuff there. The significance of this footage is that it was taken at the time his mother, Nora Allen, died. So this footage could prove his innocence and could get him out of prison. However, during the whole footage, his face cannot be seen as he was looking down the whole time. During the entire time, there was not even a single moment when he looked at the CCTV camera. So there was no way to prove that the person in the grocery store was Barry's father. After that, we see Barry talking to his dad over telephone. His dad tries to console him by saying that he has no problems in staying inside the prison cell because he feels without his wife, he has no purpose to go back to the outside world. He advises Barry to move on with his life and not waste his time on his old man. I have seen the exact same scene, and the two characters having the same conversation in the CW Flash show. I can tell that this scene feels so much more real and powerful. This shows that Ezra Miller is such an incredible actor and has such great range in acting. I really wish he had not done all those terrible stuff because I really wanted to see him play the Flash for a long time. But it is what it is. I hope justice prevails at the end of the day. Now, after the conversation, Barry runs as fast as he can as he is consumed by the frustration of not being able to get his father out of prison. As a result of this, he ends up traveling back in time. We see him travel back to the first scene of the movie, when he saves those babies in the hospital from falling out of the windows. By the way, he traveled back in time, in Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. But here, we see no mention of that, and this movie makes it feel like this is the first time Barry traveled back in time. So it confirms that the Snyder Cut is not canon to the DCEU. It's the 2017 version of Justice League, which is considered canon. Now coming back to the main plot, an idea crosses his mind, that he would use this ability to travel back in time to go back into his childhood and save his mom from dying. In this way, he can prevent his dad from going to prison as well. Before executing his plan, he has a conversation with Bruce Wayne. However, he does not approve his idea. At this moment, Bruce says one line which really stuck with me. This line truly embodies Batman as a character. It goes like this: "Our scars define and make us who we truly are. We are not supposed to erase them." This line gave me goosebumps and I could really relate it with my life. However, Barry does not listen. At this point, he has made up his mind to go back in time no matter what. So he does exactly that. He ends up traveling back in time, but ends up in a different universe altogether. Before he realizes this, he goes to his house to find his mom and dad. They recognize him, and his mother offers him food in the kitchen. Then suddenly, another Barry Allen appears in front of his house. This is when he realizes that this is not the same universe as the one he just left. Actually, this is a very scientific and logical depiction of time travel and the parallel universe theory. When you travel back in time, you actually do not travel to your own past, you travel back to an alternate version of yourself. This is because, suppose you manage to travel back in time to your own past and kill yourself. You have no identity in that case. So he then manages to save his mom in this universe by slight modifications of small events like reminding her of the tomato sauce at home. At this point, the DCEU Barry Allen does not realize that the other Barry Allen of this universe is a different person altogether. He thinks that the other Barry is just a younger version of himself. Then he suddenly realizes that the day is December 29th, the day he got his powers. DCEU Barry then decides to take the other Barry to the exact spot of the lightning accident so that he gets his powers. He does that because he feels that if this Barry does not get his powers, he would lose his own powers too, as according to him they are the same person, and there would be no way to return to his own timeline. However, this time, the accident goes terribly wrong, and the lightning strike passes through the DCEU Barry and is absorbed by the other Barry. So, the other Barry gets powers but DCEU Barry loses his own. Okay, this was something I was not expecting. This did not have any significant effect on the overall storyline, but I think this was a fun little sequence of events. Then we see the events of Man of Steel taking place in this Earth. We see General Zod's world engine on the TV. He asks for Superman to surrender. Now, Barry Allen from this universe tells that there is in fact no Superman in his world. In fact, there are no metahumans. DCEU Barry starts getting worried because there may not be anyone to save the world from Zod this time. However, he gets to know that there is one member of the Justice League that does exist in this world. That is none other than Batman. So both the Barry Allens then go to the Wayne Manor. Now, from the looks, it seems like the same Wayne Manor from Tim Burton's Batman 1989. However, it looks like no one has been living there for a long time, as it is engulfed in spider webs and dirt everywhere. We then see Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne for the first time. For a moment, I could not even recognize him. He looks nothing like the Bruce Wayne that we know of. He is just a scruffy old man with long gray hairs and beard. I personally did not like this scene because it seemed very uncharacteristic of Bruce Wayne. He suddenly sneaks up from behind and starts a funny kitchen fight. For me, that was even worse than the entire Justice League 2017 movie. But fortunately it was only a short scene. The two Barry Allen tell their story, however Bruce denies offering the two any help. So they have no option but to leave the Wayne Manor. Then we see the two of them finding a way to the secret Batcave. Now, this was probably the coolest scene of the whole movie. The Batcave with everything inside it and the overall atmosphere took me back in time to the Tim Burton movies. Then, we see Barry Allen from the DCEU get hold of a report which stated that there was in fact an alien who landed on Earth and is kept inside a secret facility somewhere in Russia. The DCEU Barry is certain that the alien in question here is Superman, and he can take down General Zod. So Bruce was watching all of these through a secret webcam attached to a small pen inside his Batcave. Bruce realizes that the two of them are serious, and they require his help. So Bruce Wayne then puts on the bat suit, and the three of them fly to Russia together in the iconic Batwing. They reach the facility. And here we get to see Michael Keaton's Batman in full action. I think this whole fight scene in Russia was better than all his fight scenes combined in the old Tim Burton movies. We see the use of his Batcape, the Batarangs, and several other gadgets. There were even few funny moments in between which worked really well. Then we get the first shot of Sasha Calle's Supergirl. She is very weak and skinny as we see her inside the Russian facility. Just like Superman, she too receives her nourishment in presence of sunlight. She is kept inside a chamber where not even a tiny bit of sunlight can enter. So she is deprived of her powers. However, Batman and the two Barry Allens manages to escape the high-security facility and brings Supergirl out into the open. As soon as she receives sunlight, she gets her powers back and saves Batman from the security personals. Then the three of them bring her to the Batcave in Gotham. Now Bruce asks the DCEU Barry a very important question. If he can go into any timeline and universe, why does this universe mean so much to him that he decides to save it from General Zod's invasion at all cost? He replies saying that, in this universe his mother is alive, and he is not going to let her die. Batman then decides to help him get his powers back by recreating the lightning incident. With Supergirl's help, Barry does get his powers back. Then Supergirl reveals her name, Kara Zor-El. Kara then asks about Superman, and where she can find him. But in this universe no one ever heard of Clark Kent or Superman. So she assumes that in this universe Superman never made it to Earth. Then comes the final act of the movie where the two Barry Allens, Batman and Supergirl comes face to face with General Zod and his army. We already saw some of it in the numerous trailers and TV spots. This fight scenes has taken some serious clues from Zack Snyder's directing skills. We see the Man of Steel-like close-up shots several times during the fight sequence. Overall, this scene was like a dream come true for a big DC fan like me. It was so well made, simple yet absolutely epic. The Batwing is absolutely insane in this whole sequence. During the fight, Zod reveals that the DNA sample he needed to invade the Earth and make it a home for Kryptonians was in Supergirl's blood and not in Superman's. He also reveals that he found and located Superman and he killed him. This makes Supergirl angry and she goes after Zod with no remorse. However, we see that at the end, both Batman and Supergirl dies and Zod is successful in invading the Earth. The other Barry then decides to go back in time and try to stop Zod. However, he fails again, resulting in the death of both Batman and Supergirl. However, he does not give up, he keeps trying and trying and trying. But to no avail. He fails to save Batman and Supergirl every single time. Then the DCEU Barry realizes something. No matter how much he tries, they cannot stop Zod's invasion. It is meant to happen. I will explain it to you in a bit more detail. The multiverse is a fabric which contains different planes of universes stacked on top of each other. Now they are not independent. They are connected at some points. It is like this crystal structure on your screen. The crystal exists because different planes are connected at these dots that you see. These dots are like the events which are meant to happen regardless of anything in every universe across the multiverse. You cannot change that, no matter how hard you try. If you manage to destroy one of these dots, the whole crystal collapses. The whole multiverse would break down if you try and change these events. Now we see another character when the two Barry Allen are trying to contemplate this, inside the Speed Force. It is none other than the Dark Flash. Dark Flash is actually the Barry Allen from Michael Keaton's universe, who has been trying to save his Earth from Zod's invasion since ages. He failed every single time. We see that, due to his actions, several worlds across the multiverse begins to collapse and destroy. We see shots of Christopher Reeves's Superman and Adam West's Batman. Now, I have a mixed feeling about this. I obviously love the nostalgia aspect of it. But we could easily tell that it was an artificially created CGI scene. I respect and regard Christopher Reeve as the greatest actor to play the Man of Steel, but this scene kind of let me down mainly because of the poor VFX. However, I love the scene of Nicolas Cage taking on this giant robotic spider. Nicolas Cage was supposed to appear in a 1997 movie called Superman Lives. But due to some production issues, it was scrapped within a month of its announcement. They made a real giant robotic spider, which was supposed to be used in the shooting of the film. Back then there was no CGI, and everything had to be made in real life. Since the cost involved in making this spider was so high that they decided to save it and use it in some other movie. It ended up appearing in the movie Wild Wild West 1999. So, actually I always imagined what it would be like to have Nicolas Cage as Superman fighting a giant robotic spider. Now, thanks to this movie, we do not have to imagine. So, I felt it really worked for me very well. Now, coming back to the main story, the DCEU Barry Allen successfully convinces his counterpart that he has no other option but to let his mother die, or else it will end the whole multiverse. At the end, Dark Flash tries to kill the DCEU Flash. But the other Barry comes to the rescue and takes the shot for him and sacrifices his life. His death automatically kills off Dark Flash, and every destruction that he created within the multiverse gets undone. After that, we see an emotional scene of Barry Allen interacting with his mother. To me, this was such a powerful scene because Barry knew his mother would die, but there was nothing he could have done. Ezra Miller really acted the hell out of this scene. I had a few drops of tear running down my cheek. So after all that, the DCEU Barry Allen returns to his universe. The court hearing on the wrongful conviction of his dad is going on. Barry reaches there and finds out that the CCTV footage of his dad in the grocery store is being shown as the evidence of his dad's innocence. But to my utmost surprise, we see that in this footage, Henry Allen looks up to the camera for a fraction of a second. Now, at this point, I got the hint that something is definitely wrong. It became clear to me that this is not the original universe from where Barry left at this very point. My suspicion turned to reality when we see Bruce Wayne coming to the courthouse and congratulates Barry on winning the case. This was not Ben Affleck. This was our very famous, or rather the very infamous Bruce Wayne, George Clooney. That basically means that he has not returned to his own universe. So, this was the entire movie. I tried my best to explain it in the most condensed way as possible without leaving any details. Now let us come to the most important part of the video. Okay, now let me reveal a very important fact to you. The role of George Clooney's Bruce Wayne at the end at the court was initially supposed to be played by Michael Keaton. The shift from Keaton to Clooney was made during the reshoots. This happened after the whole takeover of Warner Bros. By Discovery and James Gunn. It is because George Clooney is our new Batman. Think about it this way, there is no way Barry Allen is going to travel to another new timeline just because we do not like George Clooney as Batman. He has everything in this universe which matters to him. He will not risk another multiverse-threatening event to go to another timeline so that James Gunn can have a new actor as Batman. And Ezra Miller is reportedly going to continue as the Flash in the new timeline. The director has confirmed this himself. The script for the sequel has already been written and completed. So the James Gunn universe will start from where the Flash movie left off. Now, before you start getting mad, let me talk about a few reasons which makes me feel that George Clooney is indeed a good choice for playing Batman in the new DCU. I think he was always a great Bruce Wayne. He has the natural looks of a billionaire playboy. His Batman would totally work with the kind of movies James Gunn is known for. And I said at the very beginning as well that Batman and most of the other DC characters were never as dark as Zack Snyder made them out to be. The most popular Batman comics shows Batman having a goofy and funny side to him. It has become a fashion these days to show Batman like this dark monster with a demonic voice. But it is important to realize that Batman is not just a symbol of vengeance. He is a symbol of hope, compassion and love as well. And talking of compassion, you just need to see the ending of Batman and Robin 1997. Not only does George Clooney's Batman save Mr. Freeze, but also vows to save his wife. This is what makes Batman such an iconic superhero. I think if given a better script to work with, George Clooney can really give us a great Batman movie and redeem himself. Most importantly, we already have a dark Batman on one hand with Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves. So it will actually be interesting to see two different versions of the same character at the same time. Personally, I will always prefer George Clooney's Batman over a skinny depressed teenager with silky hairs. We can also get a Batman Beyond movie pretty soon, with George Clooney already being 61 years old currently. If we have a 30-year-old Batman, we would have to wait for another 40 years to get a Batman Beyond movie. So considering all these factors, I think George Clooney is a very good choice to play Batman in the new universe. So that is all I have to say. What do you think about this whole situation? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.